Well, it's December 29th, last Sunday of the year. I guess Jimmy Carter died today. Anyway, I was going to tell you a little story about when I went sheep hunting one time. Me and my son went together. We had been before several times, but we decided to start hunting in a new area, so we went there 2 or 3 times and checked it out, and thought we'd go sheep hunting in there, see if we could find some rams. Well, when we were packing up, we had a pretty good garden, some greenhouses, and had some tomatoes and cucumbers and stuff that we were going to take with us, but they never got put in my truck. So once we got to where we were going to put everything onto the four-wheeler, we didn't have that food with us, All we had was the mountain houses. So anyway, we take off from the house and drive about 45 miles and turn off on a gravel road and go back another 15 miles and park, unload the four-wheeler, take off, go another 10 or 12 miles and set up a base camp, which wasn't nothing but just a bigger tent and two pretty warm sleeping bags, and stuck in some 4 mountain houses because we didn't have very much food at all with us. We only had like a dozen of them, So we spent the night there at that base camp. The next morning we were going to get up and take off into the mountains. And sheep season didn't start till the next morning. We wanted to get way up on top, and then we could look down and hunt like that. So the next morning we get up, my son's like, "Why don't you make one of those mountain houses?" And I'm going, "What we just eat blueberries and cranberries for breakfast." I said, that's the breakfast at Champions, and they are good for you. And they were just abundant. I mean, they were everywhere. The biggest, prettiest blueberries you ever seen, and low bush cranberries also. And they were, they were just, the bushes were like 2 foot tall. You could rip one handful of, and get like 20 cranberries. That's about all you'd want to put in your mouth at one time. So anyway, I had a picture of him. He squatted down. He's eating those blueberries and cranberries for breakfast. So we take off from that base camp and we go up this drainage like, I don't know, a couple miles. We're gaining altitude. Then we have to go around at the base of another mountain. Then we're going to cross this little flat area, and then start climbing up this mountain. And by that time, though, the tundra's real short. And the cranberries are like this tall, and the blueberries are like this tall. And they'll make berries till you get up so high that they're just specks. They'll just keep trying to make them, but they just can't. They can't grow any higher than you get where there's just rocks, nothing else. The mountains are unique. You can even find a little dip, and little trees will try to grow into that dip. They'll lay down flat on the ground just so they can stay out of the wind and survive. So anyway, I get started down into that flat area for a few yards, and I see something laying there, and I thought maybe it was a gold mine marker or something, And I walk up there closer to it, and it's an apple, just the biggest, nicest looking apple. It wasn't one of those what they call those one real popular red ones. I can't think of it right now offhand, but anyway. It wasn't one of those. It was some other kind of an apple, but it was a kind of brighter red, not that dark, a darker kind of a red. Anyway, it was a big old apple, there wasn't nothing wrong with it, I handed it to my son. He gobbles it down, I think he ate as fast as he could just so I wouldn't get any of it, And we started up the mountain, and we get about 75 yards from where it planes out, and we get up on this big ridge. One of those little Cub airplanes flew past us and waved its wings at us, And once we got up on top, we decided we were going to stay the night right there. The next morning, we're going to get up and go sheep hunting because sheep season starts, And it's raining. It rains for 2 days. So after 2 days, we get up and go out and we go down that ridge, start looking for sheep because we're up really, really high. We don't know what's up in there, but the mountain goes higher. But you have to go down this ridge before it does get higher. And we went back to where you had to slide down between 2 big boulders, and it was like 7 or 8 feet off the ground. I wasn't sure how easy we could get back up over that so we didn't go any farther up that mountain. But to look across the other side of that drainage that we're on now, because we had already crossed over that Continental Divide, and we're looking off the other way, and all this water is going towards the Yukon River. And we see two big old nice ramps, and they look good to us too. You know, they're less than a mile away, but like I said, they're across this big, you know, this big drainage or this big canyon, whatever you want to call it, you know. And we didn't have a spotting scope with us. All we had was our, you know, the scope on our rifle, but the wind was blowing so hard up there that, you know, your eyes were just watering and watering, especially if you really try to concentrate, look at something, you know, and you really couldn't see, you know. I mean, it just tears after tears would run down your eyes, you know. But what I was going to tell you, you know, we didn't even attempt to try to kill those sheep. It was too far down off that Continental Divide, and we'd have never made it back up in one trip. We would have had to make at least 2 trips, you know. I carried a sheep one time 8 miles, and I only had to carry it uphill like 15 yards, and that was a tough 15 yards to carry that sheep uphill. You know, it was all down and out, you know what I mean, like that. But not here at this place. If we'd have shot one of them, we'd have had to bring it up a half a mile, you know. And I mean, it's pretty doggone steep too. Then down the other side, and then 4 or 5 miles to the 4-wheeler, you know. Alaska's good about that. They like for you to have to walk like 5 miles to get to where the sheep are. I guess that way, it'll, you know, a lot of people just won't even mess with it, you know. I think that's the reason. But anyway, that's the little sheep hunting trip we went on, and Jesus fed my son. I hope you enjoyed this story.